Hello darlings! In this video, I'm going to show you how to make two types of ornaments. These bejeweled beauties and gold frame treasures. A quick note, this tutorial was originally part of my Christmas decorating video, so you might notice some vlog style moments sprinkled here and there. Happy crafting! Okay, first things first, if you can find velvety ornaments, that is the ideal situation. Now these I found at Michael's and they were 30% off, 40% off. It was on sale. I already made 2 ornaments out of these burgundy velvety ones. Also found 6 white ones, which are smaller than the burgundy one. If you can't find ornaments with velvet on it already, then one option is getting plain white balls, or any ball for that matter, and covering them in flocking powder. I got my 6-pack from Michael's. And actually, if you could find velvet ornaments on sale, they're cheaper compared to getting the spheres. The spheres, a pack of 6, was like $5.99. Each of these, I think is like $8, but I got these on sale. I'm gonna be painting these red. So they call this the 2-step velvety flock. Step 1, we are going to impale the sphere with a skewer. This skewer is used for cooking. Like you could put chicken on it, mushrooms, grill it, pineapples. So we're gonna squeeze on that tinted adhesive. Now don't do it too thick, but make sure it covers all the white parts. Now paint over the whole ball. Alright, so we're gonna set that to the side, let it dry. Let's apply paint to the other one. Now if you apply it thick, it's gonna take longer to dry. So for this first layer, highly recommend make it thin enough. I still try to make it thick enough where you don't see the white. Now in the instruction, it says to put only 1 layer, and then the second layer is where you apply the flock. That turned out to be a little streaky for me, so I like to put 2 layers on, let it dry. 3rd layer, when it's wet, apply the flock. Alrighty, we're gonna set those to the side. Alright, we gotta paint a second layer of that tinted adhesive, and it's gonna make that color more solid and less smeary looking. Done! Alright, do a spin, make sure everything is all wet. It's 10 p.m. So we're gonna let that dry overnight. These 2 layers of tinted adhesive are dry. Now let's put flocking powder on them. This is a to-go container, because if I don't have this and I just put the flocking powder, it's gonna go all over the place. This will collect powder that doesn't go on the sphere. First, we apply a 3rd layer of tinted adhesive. Not too thin, because we want that powder to stick on there, but also not too thick. While the ball is still wet, we're gonna squeeze this bottle of flocking powder. And as you can see, that's the powder. Some people might prefer wearing a mask because this stuff does get in the air. So that is covered with the flocking powder, but here it's more pinky, so we need to cover that. Just rotate the ball. Because you squeeze this so much, my muscles here are really feeling this. Alright, I'm gonna gently shake that off to shake some of that excess off so it doesn't get all over the place. We'll set those to the side. Make sure it is thoroughly dry before crafting with it. When you touch it, when it's wet, it kind of ruins it. The texture. Oh, we're gonna wash the brush, and then whatever is left in the container, we could put it back in the bottle. I made this funnel with just plain paper. Just tap it, and I'll just go down. There's so much more flocking powder left compared to the adhesive paint. Alright, on to the fun stuff. We add ribbons and sparkle. I've got 2 flocked balls, dried and ready. I'm gonna show you how to make this ornament. We got our hot glue plugged in and ready to go. So as you can see, that raised line is still in the middle, and there are these little bumps that were always there, even before we apply the flock. So we're going to be strategic and apply the ribbon over those bumpy parts. And I'll just do a spin, see what looks the bumpiest. So I'm gonna apply hot glue gun right there. I'm gonna be mostly eyeballing this, but I wanna be as accurate as possible. So I'm gonna bring this ribbon around to the bottom and back to the top and kind of adjust that ribbon and make it as middle, as centered as possible. And then once that's down, I'm gonna use my fingernail and then push down the middle of the ribbon. And this will make marks on this styrofoam. So it'll make it easier for us to know where to put the glue gun on. So you can see the little indents. I mean, if you could eyeball it completely, wow, good for you. But I find it hard to eyeball the first line. So just do that, apply that glue gun. And then just keep applying that hot glue along those indents. And then I'm flattening it out just to make it smoother looking. And if you've used hot glue gun before, it always leaves these little strands. So just pick them off as you go, make it neat. Alright, and then we cut off the end. And cut it off. Okay, so if you see here, it lines up, and that is what we're going for. And you could actually take the skewer off now. I'm just tucking in the end of the ribbon into that hole. Now we're gonna put the ribbon across the other side. You see, on the top it'll look like they're intersecting. So first, we're gonna secure the end. And then once again, we're gonna go around to the other side, wrap it around, and then adjust your ribbon so it's centered. And that looks pretty good. And then we're gonna make the indentations with our finger. And we're just gonna do this a couple times. Alright, that little end flips up and down, so we're going to secure that. Alright, now in between we're going to put another ribbon. So we're just going to put the ribbon halfway between the first 2 ribbons we put on. I'm just going to eyeball it and make sure this ribbon goes in the middle of the other 2. So now it's easier to match up. So you could do the indentation strategy. I think you get the point. I think you know how to do this. So once again, we're going to go in between these 2 ribbons. Alright, so now we have a red sphere with gold bands along it. So there are a couple things you could do here at this point. You could get something bejeweled. Oh, actually, because this sphere has a line going through it, we gotta cover that. So I'm gonna use a different ribbon for this next part. Alright, this ribbon has metal studs on it. It's a thicker ribbon. Now looking at this sphere, this side doesn't look as good, so that's gonna be my back side. So I decided that's where I'll start my ribbon. I think you get the idea. Just put the hot glue along that raised middle part. And then put that ribbon on. And then cut it as accurately as possible so they join pretty nicely. But you can put a jewel thing on here to cover that. Alright, so we got a Pokemon ball. If you want to go for more of this style, then this ribbon, you just hot glue it on between the gold ribbons. You can do a very neat job, but I'm gonna be putting jewel right in the middle here, so it's okay if it's not perfect. And then just like we did with the other ribbons, put hot glue gun in the middle, fasten it on, and you could go over this hole. And then when you get to here, you just cut it. And this is like a chain ribbon, so some pieces will fall off. That's no problem. Careful, it's a little hot with the hot glue gun, so and do that 7 more times. For this design, you don't want to go over the white band because it makes it bumpy. And then when you put the jewel on top of it, it's gonna look more raised up, which I prefer not to happen. So that is why I cut it. And every time this ribbon crosses over that middle section, it gets more bumpier and bumpier. But it kind of creates this cool effect, like that. It gets pointy. When it's at the bottom, it creates a more fun design. So my camera battery keeps dying, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish this step. And when we move on to the next step, I'll come right back to you. All right, now let's bejewel it. We're gonna choose our jewel. I think I'm gonna go with this pointy one. So put hot glue gun in the middle, and then put your jewel. Push down. There you go. So I'm gonna put a jewel here, here, on every line of the chain ribbon. I'm gonna do an A-B pattern. So A, B, A. I'm gonna put another eye-shaped jewel right here. Now here's the thing, the back of this jewel is metal. After that hot glue gun cools down, it can fall off. This one's tight on there, that's good. But sometimes these jewels will fall off the hot glue, in which case, put the Fabri-Tac on the hot glue and then put the jewel back on. And the reason why I don't use this instead of the hot glue for the first time is the jewel will get slippery. So when you put this on here and put the jewel on, the jewel will move. But if you do the hot glue first and the jewel falls off, the hot glue creates a flat surface, and that creates a foundation for the Fabri-Tac. I'm gonna put a different jewel in the middle of these two. This one's more of a rounded square. All right, it happened. This jewel fell off the hot glue. You see that flat surface of the cooled down hot glue? Perfect. We'll put Fabri-Tac on it. The thing is, just because I pull on the gem, it doesn't always fall off. So when one just naturally comes off, that's when I'll reattach it. All right, now we'll just let that dry for like 30 minutes. This is 1 inch thick. I'm gonna take the end of this ribbon, wrap it around my finger. Dun-dun. I'm gonna cut this. And then as I'm folding it over, I wanna make sure the shinier side, the pretty side, that's what's on the outside. This one's the unshiny side. Let's twist it. So the shiny side shows. And then you could adjust these. If you pull this, it takes away from this side. So that is how you even it out. All right, that looks pretty cute. Then we gotta cut these. I wanna first put it on the ornament. Now before we put this ribbon on this ornament, we're gonna attach the hanging part onto the ornament. So this is kind of twisty. We'll tie one knot and secure the loop. I'll put it right here. Take my hot glue. I'm crafting through the camera, so it's kind of tricking me. If I look at the ornament directly, sometimes the ornament gets out of the camera's view like this. Let that hot glue set, and we could trim this off. I like to hot glue, but also on the sides to secure the bow. Because if someone pulls on the bow, it can come undone on the ornament. And once it's on the ornament, it's gonna be harder to make a nice bow. I just like to go across. And then let it set. I also like to put a little hot glue inside the loops to secure the bow. So then when you pull these, they won't move. And we gotta cut these next. All right, now I like to use the espresso cup and just set it on there. And then I like to take a look at it. All right, and then we can decide how short we wanna cut it. You want to use sharp scissors for this because if it's dull scissors, it's going to be a messy cut. So sharper the better. And some people like to burn the edges of the ribbon. And voila! How cute is that? You can also cut the bow ends to be long and droopy, like hair. This bow tie I did a double. So there's 4 loops instead of 2. You can make so many different kinds of ornaments. The varieties are endless. Tomorrow is December 1st, somehow already, and today we'll be turning these cute little frames into ornaments. We've got 25 of these tiny frames, each with a different image. So to make the next set of ornaments, we need images, and then we need to print them. I'm looking for images with snow, wintry, enchanting. Some images will be haunting, whimsical, some vintage vibes. Not every image we find is going to have all of these qualities, but all the images as a whole is going to evoke all that we're looking for. And hopefully when they're all together, they feel cohesive, but it's okay if it's not perfectly cohesive. As someone who is a perfectionist, I'm trying to practice being okay with things not being perfect. So here I am on Unsplash. I found this photo. It's a snowy street in Sofia with a tram. I love this photo. It feels a little sentimental because of that yellow tone. It's actually snowing at the moment in this picture because you see those little white dots. So I'm looking for 25 images, which is a lot. You can actually just do like 5 different types of photos and just have repeats in your ornaments. For me at least, ideally, I would like 25 different images for the 25 frames. So then when you look at the Christmas tree, it's like you see one frame and then you see the next frame, and then because every frame you see is different, like you're like, I just want to look around the tree more. But if you have repeats or too many repeats, it's easier for the viewer of the tree to be like, oh, I already saw that they're probably the rest of them just repeats. So there's kind of like a psychological thing going on there. Who knows? If this takes too long, I'm just gonna have repeats. I typed in vintage Christmas on Unsplash. Oh, this is a nice one here. Merry Christmas from the Banff Springs Hotel. Oh, I like that. It feels kind of vintage. So 2 photos so far. I really would like to find some photos that feel like a little mysterious yet cozy. This looks stunning right here. Maastricht, Netherlands? Probably not saying that right. Forgive me. Wow, this is beautiful. So wintry enchantment. Check that box off. I got a tip for you. If you find a photo you like, just scroll down, look under that photo, and then there are photos that are similar to it. Oh, I like this one right here. Wow, the bokeh. I love the human silhouettes. They're really contrasted against the light gray background. That is shot by the Flatiron Building in New York. Snowstorm, January 2016. So that was 9 years ago. So, no, 9? 8? 8 years ago. So a little bit of nostalgia right there. Increasing nostalgia. Because as time goes by, things get older. Oh, that is lovely. Oh, that is beautiful. I'm looking for some haunting wintry photos. Ooh, what's this? Oh, it looks like a cabin. It looks moody. It looks a little creepy, but just the right amount of creepy. Also kind of cozy. Download. I'm also looking for photos that spark the imagination, gives you more questions than answers. Like this photo right here. The road, where does it go? Where does it take you? Who knows? Gets a little foggy. Oh, now this one is also mysterious. So it's been about an hour, maybe two. There's a bunch of images I couldn't find, so I ended up making them on Midjourney. Like this one of Sasquatch in a snowy forest. Now we gotta bring these images into Illustrator so that when we print them out, they're the right size. We have 5 different types of frames. This one's a square, this one's a rectangle, this one's a circle, this one's a heart, and the tiniest frame is an oval. Where's my ruler? So we're gonna measure each frame. If you go from just the inside to inside, the part where you see the photo, it would be 1 inch and a 1/16. We have to print the image bigger than the whole. Then it makes it easier to put the image onto this frame. So I'm thinking to print the image 1 1/4. I made 1 1/4 inch boxes on Illustrator, 5 of them. By the way, there are other programs you can use. If I didn't have Illustrator, I'd probably use Pages or Word. As for the circular frame, the hole is about 1 1/4 inches. I'm gonna print the image closer to 1.4 inch. The heart frame is gonna be the tricky one. The widest width of the heart is about 1 inch. The tallest height of the opening is just a little over 1 inch. Here on Illustrator, we're gonna make a rectangle. We'll just, you know what, let's just make a square and then cut it out accordingly. As for the ovals, the height of that opening, 3/4 inch, and the width of the opening is 1/2 inch. Basically, you drag the image into Illustrator, and the size is not going to be perfect. So I'm holding down the Shift key to keep the ratio the same. Basically, we're going to make clipping masks. We want the image to be cropped in the shapes we made. Take this castle photo as an example. Then right-click. Go to Arrange and select Send to Back. Select both the image and shape. Right-click and select Make Clipping Mask. The image is now in the shape we want. If you want to change the composition, double-tap or double-click on the image. You can move the image around. To exit the clipping mask mode, double-tap outside the shape. Everything is laid out, ready to print. As you can see, it's pretty dark. That's because the sun's gonna set in about 20 minutes. PNW winters, you know? I brightened up a lot of these images so it wouldn't eat as much ink. And also sometimes when things print, it can be darker in real life compared to the computer screen. Yay! Alright, that is looking pretty good. Before we start cutting these up, because there are so many to cut, we gotta make sure they fit into the frames. What I'm gonna do is just take each frame and just place it over the image. And it looks like all 5 of the frames fit. That's something to celebrate because, yeah, if the sizes weren't correct, we have to go back to the computer, resize and whatnot. So now before cutting, we gotta make sure it's dry. And it's been like 15 minutes since I printed this, so yes, it is dry. This is matte photo paper, not glossy. And if water gets on this, then the ink will get all messed up. So we're gonna laminate this page. Let me put this mic on the chandelier and hopefully you can still hear my voice pretty good. I got this like 2 years ago. You don't have to do this step, but since I already had the laminating paper here at home, I'm just gonna go ahead and seal this paper. I like to blow on the paper a little bit in case any little dust or particles got on it. We don't need this whole page, so I'm just gonna cut some of it off. Just gonna cut off some of this off. Save that for another project. Alright, so we're gonna peel the thin sheet off, and then the sticky side towards the paper. Starting from the middle, pushing it down, outwards. Alright, so that is now sealed. And all we do next is cut. Actually, instead of cutting everything and having 25 pieces just floating around the table, I'm gonna go frame by frame. So let's start off with the square frames first. The size is actually really perfect. Alright, I got some tape here. Just regular good old Scotch tape. So this Scotch tape is pretty thick, and if you just put it down, it can easily pop off the edge of the frame. So you can just slice the tape in half and then stick it down, and voila! One frame done! Here's how they turned out. This looks like a tiny gallery wall. I love how these turned out. Let me show you some of my favorite images. This one's kind of eerie. Oh wait, it's this way. There's a Christmas tree next to her bed, and the Christmas tree is wrapping around the ceiling at the edges. Two women next to the Christmas tree. Here's that photo we found on Unsplash. Here's another photo we found on Unsplash. Also found this photo on Unsplash, Central Park. They look so good together like this. Now it is time to put loops on them so we can hang it on the tree. I'll rotate this so you can see it better. For this next part, all we need is string. I'm gonna cut the string the same width as this Scotch tape. I got my hot glue ready to go, plugged in. I'm gonna take this frame. Basically, I'm just gonna squeeze a dab of hot glue on the top right there, and then put the strings down. I'm pushing the strings down where the hot glue is not touching. You do not want to touch fresh hot glue. That's gonna be real hot. So just like that. Got another one here done. All right, now we gotta do that 23 more times. Ta-da! If you're feeling inspired to try these crafts, I've got you covered. For the supplies I bought on Amazon, you'll find those links in the description box. I found a handful of items at Michael's in person, but for those who don't live near Michael's and prefer Amazon, I've also included some promising Amazon alternatives in the description box for you. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Remember to check out my Christmas Decorate With Me video. I show you how I made my wreath. I put the link in the description box. I'll also be putting up the exclusive Patreon vlog number 32. This one's gonna be available for everybody, for paid and free members, because Christmas! Let me know in the comments section which type of ornament you like more, the bejeweled ones or the tiny frame ones. Wishing everyone a merry and cozy holiday season. As for my pottery update, been making some Christmas gifts. Hopefully they're ready in time. For more artsy-fartsy updates, follow my arts, crafts, and pottery Instagram @CreativeChillout. For food, travel, and life, my main Instagram is @MissMinaO.